The purpose of the example we're going to discuss right now is to illustrate what exactly happens when we pass a reference by value. What happens when we call a method and we supply a reference variable as argument. This is our familiar Java visualizer environment. The URL, you can see it up on the top. We have written a class called customer that does various interesting things. We have two instance variables in the customer class, the name of the customer and then a variable called referred whose type is customer. We use this variable when one customer refers another one to our business. We note down who was the customer that was referred. Sometimes businesses would give bonuses to customers that refer other customers and so forth. So this is not an unrealistic example. We will take a look at the details of the refers method later. Let's go and see what the program does. As you can see, we have already the pictures of two objects here, and that is because I have paused the execution of the code at step 12, as you will see, somewhere in the middle of the execution of the program. The first two lines of the program create two customer objects, Alice and Bob. Now, we named the references Alice and Bob. We have not given names yet, as you can see here, to the name field of each of those objects. Since we just created these two customer objects and their instance variables are of reference type, we have a string and a customer instance variable, they are by default initialized to the null values by Java. On the following step, what we're going to do, and this is when we will see again the execution in real time, is we are going to assign the names we want to those two customer objects. So let's forward the execution and notice the differences that will be happening in the pictures of the objects. So the name in the object referenced by the Alice variable has changed to be the string Alice, and so does the name for the Bob variable. What is interesting here and what we want to focus at is what happens when we invoke the method refers as in line 23 of the code. What happens here? We call the method refers through the Alice object, giving as argument the Bob reference. Excellent. So when that happens, we will start seeing the execution of the refers method. Now, if you notice, we have this variable appear here. This is not a variable, a reference variable that we explicitly change. This is a variable that Java keeps track of, and it changes as we change the use of the objects during the execution of the code. Now, why does this reference the Alice object? We invoke the refers method through the Alice object. So when the refers method starts executing, then the object that called it, the this object, is Alice. This is why this is referencing the same object as the Alice variable. Excellent. What happens at the very first line of the code of the method? It says referred becomes equal to C. The referred variable is the instance variable, whose object's instance variable. The instance variable of the this object. So the referred field of the Alice object. So we're trying to give a value, to assign a value to this field. What value are we assigning there? Remember, this is a field that is of reference type, right here. We are assigning the value that the parameter has, which has exactly the same type. It is also of customer type. Great. So what is the value of the C parameter? The C parameter was given a value upon the method invocation. It has the same value as the Bob variable. The Bob variable is a reference. What is the value of the reference? The memory location where this object is stored. So when we are copying one reference value to another, we're actually copying the memory location. For this reason, the parameter is referencing exactly the same object as the argument variable. Great. So now when we see inside the method code c.name, we know that we are actually referring to the name of this particular object. Let's go down the steps so that we see these things happen. We haven't seen yet the result of line 10, so let's make that happen. The referred variable of this object becomes equal to C. So the referred reference variable and the C reference variable reference exactly the same object. Now, c.name. Here is the C reference. Here is the name field that we're going to affect. It becomes equal to pirate. Let's see that happen. And then not only can we change this particular object, which is still referenced by the Bob variable, through the C variable, but we can also change it through the referred variable of the Alice object. So we're going to see that happen. The referred .name becomes equal now to hacker. Now, these are changes that the method has made. The method finishes, it returns to the method that called it, which is the main method. Notice that the effects of the method are still there, right? We no longer have the C variable because it was a parameter to the method, it was local to the method, it no longer is around. However, the changes that happened due to the method call are still there. We did not change the Bob variable, we could not change which object the Bob variable refers to. However, through the method, we were able to change the object that was passed as value.